Hello everyone, Tim the Train Guy here once again. So let me ask you all a question. Have you ever wanted to build a model railroad but thought, I can't do that because I live in an apartment and I don't have the space? Well, I'm here to tell you, don't believe that for a second. I know from personal experience that you can, in fact, build a model railroad in an apartment. However, that being said, there are some things that you need to take into consideration during the planning stage. And so today, I'm going to share with you some tips that I found were really helpful when planning my own layout. And now, without further ado, let's get into it. This is Tim the Train Guy's tips for model railroading in an apartment. Tip number 1, think small. Now, what I mean by that is, well, frankly, just be realistic about how much space you have. In other words, if you want a layout that can run longer trains, you might want to go with a smaller scale like N scale. However, if, like me, you do HO scale, you may only have space to run short local trains. Another thing to consider is what kind of operation you want to do, whether it be like a full circle or a point-to-point switching layout. To show you a bit of what I'm talking about, I'm going to use my own layout for reference here. This is the Agua Fria siding, which I created as part of my fictional Copper Valley Railway. It measures 11 feet by 2 feet, and it has 3 industry sidings and a passing loop. And while it's true I'm not going to be running a big boy with a long coal drag along this thing, it's still enough for me to have a satisfying operation session. And I built it in such a way that I can add on to it if and when I ever get a larger place. But for now, it's a good starting point. Another example I can show you here is my 009 layout. For those who don't know, 009 is a narrow gauge scale from the UK which uses 00 scale trains on N scale track. An American equivalent would be HON30. As a result, this track plan could easily be adapted for N scale. Anyway, the layout itself measures 2 feet by 4 feet, and I intend for it to be operated similar to a heritage railway. It has a full circuit of track plus a runaround siding at the station. It even has this dead-end siding that I can connect to future expansions. Whatever the case, though, the ultimate goal is to sort of plan around the space that you have, however much it may be. Though I feel I should say before you start building, make sure to run any plans by any spouses, family members, or roommates that you might live with if applicable. But anyway, on to the next tip. Tip number 2, plan for mobility. So if, like me, you live in an apartment, I'm going to assume that, like me, you eventually plan to move out of said apartment. If only to another apartment with cheaper rent or whatever else. In this case, you're going to need something that's easy to move. Whether that be a smaller layout or a modular layout that can be broken down, transported, and reassembled. How I've accomplished this with my HO layout is simply building it in 3 sections. And any electrical wiring is also set up to be easily disconnected and reconnected. As for my 009 layout, I designed the bench work to be quickly disassembled and reassembled so that I could transport it in my car to places like train shows or wherever else. And all the pieces are held together with carriage bolts and wing nuts that can be easily tightened and loosened by hand without the need for special tools. I've also dabbled with N-scale T-track modules that can easily be disassembled and transported. Although regardless of what scale you're doing, modular layouts are going to be your best friend for most of this. Although really, the ultimate goal should be to move the layout without taking a saw to it. Speaking of saws, that brings us to the next tip. Tip number 3, invest in a good shop vacuum. So this tip is less about construction of the layout and more about cleaning up afterwards. Because let's face it, you're probably going to have sawdust and scenery stuff all over the place, and you're going to want to clean that up before you move out, otherwise you're going to lose your security deposit. And you're going to want a shop vac for this because, frankly, regular vacuums just don't handle this kind of stuff very well. The one I use is this bucket head vacuum that I got at Home Depot that's meant to fit over a 5-gallon bucket. I chose this one mostly because, frankly, it was the cheapest option. The vacuum plus the bucket cost me about $30. And so far, it's done just about everything I've ever needed it to. And now for a quick PSA on how to clean your shop vac filter, because you don't always need to replace it necessarily. Every shop vac has a filter. This is what mine looks like. Yours may be different, but the process is more or less the same. So what you're going to want to do is take it outside, remove the top part from the bucket, and then pull off the filter. Then take your filter and, as Bob Ross would say, just beat the devil out of it. Then just put the filter back on, and you just extended the life of your shop vac filter. And with that, let's go on to the next tip. Tip number 4, join a model railroad club, if possible. Now, I understand this may not be an option for everyone, as you may not have a model railroad club within a reasonable distance of you. However, if this is an option available to you, I highly recommend looking into joining for several reasons. The first is that, frankly, you just get to connect with people who enjoy the hobby as well. And often your fellow club members will have good advice for building bench work, creating scenery, or doing electrical wiring that can help you get started. And another reason is that, frankly, you get to run your trains on a larger layout. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my small switching layout as much as the next guy, but it is always nice to give my trains a nice long run once in a while. And again, I get to do so in the company of fellow train enthusiasts. As I'm sure I've mentioned before, I am a member of the Gilbert Model Railroad Club in Gilbert, Arizona. And not only do I get to run my trains on their layout, by talking to some of the other members and just by looking at how they made their layout, I've gotten inspiration for how to do things on my own layout. But anyway, that's about all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found something useful. As always, thank you all for watching. I'm Tim the Train Guy, and bye for now.